Hey guys, this is Colin Warren from the Cougs and Space Club. Just a couple more short remarks on internal threading and a couple things I didn't mention last time that I'm bringing up now, at least that were brought to me now, that I figured it would be good to bring up for you guys to give you a better concept of why certain things are done for internal threading and a couple of other things I forgot to mention. So the reason when you're doing, let's say you're choosing a bolt size, you have an N3, which stands for 3mm. The reason why you choose you make a 2.5 millimeter hole is because within the 2.5 millimeter hole, you take a tap and you end up cutting grooves that end up extending out to 3 millimeters. So if you end up cutting initially a 3 millimeter hole, the tap's gonna fall through. So if you just grab yourself a random bolt, I'm not sure how well this is going to appear on the camera. If you look very closely, you're going to notice that there's little gaps in between what looks like these little ridges here. Those things themselves are the little gaps in between. That distance there is about 2.5 millimeters, which is what allows this bolt to sit in your hole. But then if you run your fingers along it, you're going to kind of notice a little bumpy, ridgy pattern. Those are the little threads themselves that extend out to 3 millimeters for an M3 bolt that allows the bolt to clamp down, which gives it the clamping force. So just a little note, I guess for those of you who might have been curious about, okay, why are you drilling like a 2.5 hole for 3 millimeter or M3 bolt? That doesn't make any sense. That's the concept why. The second thing, this is more technique for tapping. So when you're lining up the hole, initially you're going to have to put some downward force on your tap to get the bolt started, or not the bolt, but the tap process started to get the threads going. This is especially true for bigger threads, which you will hopefully never have to deal with, at least in the Cougs and Space Club. But just good note to mention, so then once you got the tap in, by pushing down and the threads catch and all that fun stuff, the best technique, especially for aluminum, you want to be careful with this, is when you turn it one full rotation, and then you turn it back half a rotation to clear the chips, because if you keep twisting and twisting and twisting, you can get away with it on something like PLA and other 3D printed materials, which are a little bit more forgiving. But if you do it on something like aluminum, you tend to risk breaking the tap because all of the little ridges it's cutting out, the metal material will get gunked up in the bit itself. And if you're not careful with that, that will end up messing with your bit, kind of at least clogging up the hole in general to the point where it'll become harder and harder to tap over time, making it more likely for you to break your bit. So just remember that for every one full revolution, for when you're tapping things like aluminum, you go back half a revolution, and then you go another full revolution to that, back half, and you just repeat that process until you're sick of it. But again, for PLA, you probably don't have to do that. For aluminum, something to bear in mind. And if you ever work with steel, definitely good practice there. So that's all for now. It should be a good 90% of what you ever need to know about internal threading. So we'll exit out with that.